Welcome to the Occult Rejects. This episode, I got a bunch of rejects with us and a new guest, somebody who's not been on before, but I was very, very excited to get her on. But before we introduce Star, we are going to introduce Matt Mora. What is going on, Matt? How are you?
Hey, yo, doing great. Nice to, again, back-to-back, starting with the podcast the year. So very happy to be here. As always, you can find me on @MattMora19. That's going to be on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, maybe some other place. And we also have the Twitter Spaces every Friday. That's on the Grey Lodge. So that's the website, The True Grey Lodge with a V. So thetruegraylodge.com. Also, my website, Kabbalah.com, KAABALAH.com. A lot of cool stuff going on there. And if you're interested in being part as a beta tester of a tarot thing that I'm working on, just DM me in any of these and I'll loop you in. So yeah, very glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And we got Brendan with Magus in the Media. What is going on, sir? How are you? Thank you for
Hey, Nick. Thank you for having me on this beautiful stream. I'm really excited to get to know Star here and everything that she does. Hello to Matt and to R. Marks as well. I have Magus at the Media on YouTube, X, and TikTok, just all the things. YouTube's the big one. It's where I break down the esoteric, philosophical, mythological, all that is anime, comic books, media, literature, film, philosophy. So check me out at Magus in the Media on YouTube and all those things. And I'm excited for this day. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. And for the new listeners that may not have heard him before, I highly suggest to go check out his channel. I think if you enjoy the work that we've done on this show, especially some of the older stuff, you'll love his stuff. So go, please check it out. And last but not least, before we get to the guests, we got Robbie Marks. What is going on, sir? It's great to have you back on.
Hey, hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, I'm glad to come on. It's good to come on and hang out, see some old faces, see some new faces. But yeah, I'm R. Marks, artist, illustrator. If you want to check out my stuff, you can go to my Linktree, which is Linktree RMARX, and that'll pull up all my miscellaneous stuff, my art, my podcast, everything. So yeah, thanks for having me on, Nick.
Oh, of course. Thank you. And finally, the guests. We got Star from we're covering Creepy Shit, and her show is Creepy Shit Podcast. We got a Star from Creepy Shit Podcast. Please let everybody know what your deal is, what your show's about, and where they can find all your amazing work.
Absolutely. And thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. This is really cool. Creepy Shit Podcast is all about true documented events that have happened in history, whether they are hauntings, paranormal activities, true crimes such as vanishings, all sorts of really spooky, creepy, disturbingly real shit.
Awesome. And you don't cover anything like occult, but are you like kind of into that stuff yourself or a little bit?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome, yeah. Yeah, no, I had noticed in some posts that you do stories, you do like them. That's why I was like, oh, are you into this stuff? Because Awesome. So yeah, she is into the occult as well. So go check her stuff out. But yeah, what got you even into doing this type of stuff, podcasting? What made you pick? How did this happen?
So the funny thing is I was doing a different podcast that I had created, a totally opposite of what I'm doing right now. And it just didn't feel, for lack of a better term, it didn't feel aligned anymore. And I'm like, this just isn't what I really want to talk about. And so through much, I guess you could say, personal development and self-searching, I discovered, I'm like, you know what? I really need to tap into the things that I love the most. And that is the paranormal, the occult, pop culture, true crime. And I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. And the funny thing is I never even really talked about it much outside of like my best friend and my husband, you know what I mean? So when I approached it and said, I'm thinking about doing this, what do you, just some feedback, what do you think? And they're like, we've wanted to tell you this for so long, but you need to do that. Yes. and I was like, okay. And so I got to work on researching a couple of my favorite locations to start. And all of a sudden it just took off. And it's funny, when you do what you enjoy doing, everything else will fall into place, like 100%.
Yeah, what were you doing prior to that, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. Yeah. I was doing a podcast. It was called Glowing Well, and it was all about like spiritual development and tapping into like the other side. And as much as I love that, that wasn't really what I wanted to be talking about. So it had a lot to do with like meditation, yoga,
Mhm.
and connecting with oneself, which I think is definitely all good things. But again, it just didn't hit.
Yeah, your passion was talking about something else.
Yeah.
I get that. I've understood that kind of even with my own show, the way it's changed a little. Talking about stuff I'm a little bit more passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So, like, did you have just asking and wondering, did you happen to have your own like paranormal or weird experiences growing up that kind of influenced you to believe?
Oh my goodness, yes. Throughout my life, I have definitely have had some experiences for sure. Yes.
Nice. Would you mind sharing any of it?
Oh, of course. One of the ones that stands out the most, and I don't know if you would necessarily say that it was a paranormal experience, but I do not believe in coincidences, and this was just way too weird. So my day job and that kind of thing, I've been in the hair industry and cosmetology for nearly 20 years at this point. And the very first salon that I ever worked for was in a really old building. And it actually was used, there was underground tunnels in it that were barricaded off. They were used in bootlegger days to transport, liquor and stuff like that in between and underneath the ground. And this building, the basement gave me the creeps so hard. But one day,
What's with it with basements and giving people creeps?
I know, right?
Is it really the idea of a basement? Because it's just like, would that creep you out unless somebody else told you their basement creeped you out? You know what I'm saying? Or is it something actually there that fucking tingles your senses?
Right. And what the funny thing is like my studio for my podcast and where I am right now, it's in my fucking basement. Like,
Used to it now.
So that whole basement was really weird. And we were down there one day, the staff, and everybody left and I was left alone. And I honestly thought like people were just messing with me because all of a sudden the lights all went out and I was like, hey, and I like shouted, I'm like, not funny. And the lights came back on immediately. And I'm like waiting for someone to come out, waiting for someone to say something. Nobody says anything. And the staircase was really close to like where the door was for the break room. So I thought for sure like I'd hear footsteps. I didn't hear anything. It was like almost no noise whatsoever, which made my hair stand up on end. And so I decided, I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. I'm going upstairs. And I'm like, you guys, I'm like, not fucking funny, And they said we weren't even downstairs. They're like, we promise you, like, swear on our life, nobody was down there after we all came upstairs. And I'm like, okay. Well, then I had another incident in that building where I had to do this. It was a mother and a daughter that came in, and I was talking in the front desk area, and it was Earth Month. So Earth Month is really big for an Aveda salon, which is where I was. And we had these big, huge window clings that had to go in. Do you remember like back in the day, like back in the 90s, this was really big where you had charitable events and then you signed like a cute little cutout piece of paper to put your name up and you like, yeah. Okay. So it was that, but there was this huge cutout of this blue man that looked like what you see on like a restroom symbol. And I was like, oh, and me just being my quirky, weird self. I'm like, we need to name it, blah, blah, blah. Let's call it Carl with a K. And, the front desk girl was like, yeah, okay, whatever, So I take my guest back. I get her into the pedicure chair and she starts crying. Like she's just bawling. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, what is wrong? Like, are you okay? What's the matter? And she's like, my mom and I are here. And a year ago today, my dad passed away and his name was Carl with a K. And I was like, shut the fuck up. That was too weird for me.
Yeah, that is.
And I was like, okay. So again, I don't know if that's necessarily paranormal per se, but I do feel strongly like thing.
Synchronistic.
It's some sort
Mhm.
of synchronicity was going on.
Yeah,
So-
definitely. Yeah, it's fascinating because of when you talk about basement and what are basements, right? It's like we store all the things that we don't want to deal with right away in basements. It seems like, and so it's like, and also basement is like the unconscious mind. It's our temple's unconscious mind that we walk into, kind of like a cave. And so it's interesting that then we all have this internal fear for those things, you know?
Yeah, same as being afraid of the dark, right?
Right. Yeah,
When it's
exactly.
dark, it's like you just see what your mind doesn't want to see. So obviously you're gonna be afraid.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was covering on just covering colors and stuff and how they affect you. I mean, something like that with the black room, like I don't know, but like all white or all black will actually like affect certain shit in your eyes, which then make your brain feel certain ways.
For sure.
Right.
That even has something to do with it, but that is interesting. Like, what makes you start getting like all paranoid, right? Is it really like, I don't know, is there something around you that's making you feel like that too?
I think that the cones and the rods in your eyes, when it's pure white or pure black, you start to see the functioning of the cones and the rods, and you start to have like stimulated, created hallucinations of your own subconscious that start to interject into your mindscape,
Yeah, the black, you'll start doing that. If it's all white, you'll fucking lose it. It's almost like no detail and nowhere for you to anchor, like where it is, and you'll actually lose it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's also like the term mysteries, like all these mystery schools and the caves and all those things. When we enter into them, the blackness and that darkness, what it does is, and why also you want to close your eyes when you're going into these things, is because that misstays, meaning like behind closed eyes, we can project our unconscious onto that darkness. And then most of the time, due to us not having gone through our traumas enough, we'll project these demons / paranormal / these experiences onto the darkness. And then it's like we almost have to take our sword of reason and intellect and the wand of intuition to be able to battle the dragons and the demons on the wall type of thing. That's how
I like that. That is interesting. Yeah, well, our eyes do project 6 feet too. So Star, I guess on your journey of doing this podcast, what was there like a case that maybe you knew, like when you went to start your show, was there some stuff that you already had in mind, like I definitely got to talk about this?
Yes.
Was there you want to talk about one of those?
Yeah, the biggest one that stood out is I heard this story of encephalitis lethargica. And I was like, shut up, that's actually real. I was like, holy cow. So it's this truly terrifying thing that happened where what would happen is, do you remember the movie Awakenings with Robin Williams and Robert De Niro? Do you remember that movie back in like, oh gosh, that was like late 80s, early 90s, sometime in there?
No, I don't remember that actually.
Okay. So Robin Williams plays this guy, this doctor who discovers these group of people that are in like a mental institution, asylum, if you will, and they cannot move, they cannot speak, they're fully conscious, they know everything that's going on around them, but they can't do anything, they can't move, they can't do anything. And so it's this weird pandemic that happened, and I want to say it was right after World War I, if I remember correctly, because this was probably I think this was like my second episode in my podcast. And I just could not believe the fact that it arrived so quickly and it vanished. And what's so weird is people they would get better, and then all of a sudden it would come back and they would stay like that. And they would have no way of like getting out of it, communicating, until this doctor came along and started realizing a connection and a pattern. And he started, I can't remember offhand what he was dosing the patients with, but it helped them to snap out of it, only to make it worse in the long run. But eventually this disease went away, and nobody knows what caused it. Nobody knows where it came from, and it could come back at any time. And that scared the living crap out of me. I'm like, that's worse than what we went through with COVID. I'm like, that would be terrifying to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I can't move and I can't speak and I can barely even blink. Like, that would be terrifying.
Pufferfish poisoning.
That's fascinating. I took too much Mullen once because I had a bad lung thing that happened, and where I couldn't breathe. Supposedly, if you smoke too much cannabis and you're young, all of a sudden you get lung issues. Not the point, but it's such a fascinating thing. Where then I took a Mullen tincture because that's supposed to help with your lungs. And what I did is you're supposed to take just a few drops. I drank the whole bottle because I was like, I need to get this gone. I went home from working and I laid down. And at that time in my younger 20s, I still love Bone Thugs and Harmony. Not the point. I turned on some Bone Thugs and Harmony. And as I was listening to that, and then my body started vibrating and I went into a hypnagogic state where your body becomes paralyzed. And at that same time, I was still listening to the beautiful rhythm of Bone Thugs because it's that bass and that rhythm and their hypnotic chanting that they do with the rhythms. And all of a sudden, I had a dream state where I could still be aware of my consciousness. And I witnessed a dark figure that was beside me, but I couldn't see it. So your story actually highly makes me feel of what I felt when I was going through my own little hypnagogic paralyzed, but I can still think and be aware. What is the dark being? Is it my own projection? Is it actually a demon? Is it because of what I did earlier? You know what I mean? So it's fascinating.
It's like you went through sleep paralysis.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Thank you. I know I had mentioned earlier before you came on, I thought that Lithuania case was kind of interesting.
Oh gosh, the Hill
I
of
know it's also a
Crosses.
newer one for you too, so it might be easier to talk about.
Yeah, the Hill of Crosses is so wild. The fact that got bulldozed 3 times by the Soviets, and each time those crosses kept coming back. And it is so wild to me. I never understood either when I was going through that case. I'm like, why did they want it gone so badly? That was the weird part to me too. But the fact that people go there and it's this hush that falls over the crowd, and it's not a cemetery. It's not really big. It's this literally it's just this hill that's maybe 30 feet. And it is just covered with hundreds of thousands of crosses that lay on top of each other over and over again. And people report weird optical hallucinations, and they hear things that they think are there, but they're not. And they'll notice crosses that they didn't notice the first time. And it's just an incredibly overwhelming site to go visit. And I would love to go visit it. I think it's definitely on my bucket list, but got to update the passport and shit. So
what year did all this happen as far as the Soviets trying to plow it under?
That happened, gosh, I want to say that was did they do that in the 30s or the 70s? I got a quick look at my notes, which I do have them. So hang on one second.
I'm going to pull up an image of the place too. So people can see the that I thought you know what I'm even wondering about now, and I wasn't thinking about it before when you mentioned
it was 19.
Is it could it maybe be on a mound actually?
That was the thought that also came up. I didn't discover anything directly, but the initial first bulldozing happened in 1961.
Jesus,
it's almost like old Blair Witch esque type of.
Oh, it is. Just the angular momentum of it all. Now there's a town in New Mexico that I drove through that had the entire town, every yard had, but they were very colorful and kind of Day of the Dead kind of. But yeah, this is some creepy shit.
Indeed, it really is. And I can't even imagine, can you imagine just standing in that spot and taking that all in? That would just be so overwhelming of itself. People have said that they feel very uneasy. They feel either overwhelmed by sadness. Like there's a lot of, and I'm a big believer in residual energy, and I think there's probably a lot of residual energy in
Yeah.
that spot.
And it does look like a mound.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was saying.
Definitely. Definitely.
I mean, it's going up high enough. I was saying.
Yeah. You just have to wonder what was there in time before time.
Yeah, and,
Oh,
and I mean, you get the archetype of the cross, and it definitely doesn't help with the energy, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
definitely.
It's like,
And
are they
then-
trying to keep something regulated? Or are they trying to keep something bound? Are they
Ooh.
trying to,
Yeah. It's got that chthonic style energy, very Lovecraftian,
Yep.
binding it in underneath that mound. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
It's got Pet Cemetery vibes.
Pet
Yeah.
Cemetery vibes. yeah.
But maybe there was a perpetual need for them to feel like they needed to go back and redo it time after time.
It's kind of like when people go to bridges, and some of them have people doing locked. They put locks for the relationship stuff. But then maybe just one person started, but then you have another one, and it just becomes a thing.
Like the piling rocks on the trails in certain areas. It's people do strange accumulations of objects in different places.
Yeah. Putting their sacrifice next to the great sacrifice at the top of the mountain.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Crazy. How did you find, when you were researching this, how did you find this?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So it initially came through via Instagram, and it was just like a quick little carousel thing on it. And I was like, all right, is this AI or is this real?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And so I started researching, and then of course with anything I start falling down the rabbit hole, and I was like, oh my gosh, it is real. And then it came from that. It initially started as a weird thing that popped in my feed on Instagram.
Interesting. And then is this right outside I'm sorry if I missed you saying it. Is this right outside of town in Lithuania, or how do you get to this?
Yeah. So how you get to it, that's a really good question that I do not have an answer for, but let's see. I know that it's in a town that I cannot pronounce because I totally butchered the name even in the podcast episode.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, it's right outside of Lithuania itself.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, wow.
I think you say it. Is it Vilnius? It's spelled Villinus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Again, I'm probably butchering that.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know from start, what is the story that you feel like was the creepiest from your show? If you have from the top of your head.
Oh my gosh, the story in my own state. Saint Nazians is by far the creepiest. That is the creepiest freaking story ever. And I would probably say a very close second to that is the story on the Lamb Funeral Home. Those two are the Saint Nazians is if I can be really, really direct on this, that story's fucked. So what happened was this guy who was a priest over in Germany took about 13 followers, brought them over into Wisconsin, and they roamed and found an albino cow in the middle of East Jesus nowhere and decided to build this commune and live sustainably because the priest got kicked out of Germany for his beliefs and all of this stuff. So he forms this religious colony. Everything is wonderful and great. He's got all these different predictions until he's dying on his deathbed. And he is blessing people in his catatonic state because he's dying and dismissing them. And then in the whole town, and this is documented, the whole town on his death starts to shake and walls start to vibrate. And there's all this kinetic energy happening in town. And all of a sudden, everything just goes completely silent and he's gone. And I'm like, this is so weird. and I have had people tell me too that have been there that when they go into like because there was a school, there was JFK Prep, there was the church for St. Nazians, there were rumors, and I could neither confirm nor deny this to be true or not true, but there were alleged rumors that the nuns of the JFK Prep would take children who were quote unquote naughty or misbehaving, and they would try to drown them in the lake that was nearby.
Wow.
And I've had someone tell me that they broke into the JFK Prep to like, snoop around, whatever. And they said that they had the weirdest experiences. And I said, well, were you high? Were you drinking? Like, what was going on? And he's like, no way. I was totally sober, none of the kind. But I was in that hallway in the basement, and it felt like the hall just kept going. Like it was like that elongating effect that you see in like movies, where it just kept going until he finally reached a room. And he found this room where there was like all these belts, all these like yard work tools and like just sharp objects. And then he like skipped over and went into the bell tower of the church, and the bell was removed like, I don't even know how long ago, but it was removed. And he says he swears that he could hear the bell ring, and he swears he saw something in the tower, but he doesn't know what it was. He said it was totally a shadow figure. I'm like, that's creepy. I'm like, that's definitely creepy.
Wow. Well, yeah, they remove bells because one of the conspiracies / stories is they remove the bells across the world, certain kind of frequencies that would cleanse cities and states and areas. And so there was one big like movement to get rid of these bells. So then maybe think crazy shit like that could happen.
Wow, that's interesting. I did not know that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and definitely that's like a rabbit hole you can fall down into, very similar to like mud flood rabbit holes, as well as like the children on the trains in the 1800s. And so cleansing of areas. That's why one theory is they would put bells in cities to be able to cleanse the cities of forces, natural forces that may be more primal and
also
evil.
Along with that, the grease from the bells was sought after by witches because it held certain resonant vibration, and it was like one of the most highly like powerful ointments and things that they would use in from churches specifically.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That is really interesting. Wow.
So that priest just disappeared?
Yeah, like he wound up dying.
Before or after he disappeared?
Oh, no, this was like he died like in that town.
Okay.
And then all the
he died in that town, and that's
happened.
when all that like vibration and all that kinetic energy started happening upon his death.
So I know this is my asking you what do you think he was evil? Do you think he was doing some shady shit, or like what?
I think he was definitely into some shady shit. I really do. I'm like, something doesn't totally measure up in this story. And I don't think his deeds were of a necessarily of a good heart. I think there was something else going on entirely. And because, I mean, you got kicked out of Germany. You got kicked out of your own country. Like, something's not right, like,
Interesting. What denomination was this priest?
Catholic.
Yeah, he's a Catholic. Yeah, nice. And then where did he move to? Where was
it's in Wisconsin. And he wound up being like one of the big founders of that town. And to this day, like that town is definitely creepy to this day. Like it's not one that you want to drive through. Like I think there's maybe about 600 people there that are still living there, but a lot of the town is like boarded up. It looks very ghost towny.
What was the town?
Like, St. Nazians.
And where's that near?
Okay, hang on. Manitowoc. It's near Manitowoc.
I know where that is. Nice. I'm not disclosing where I'm at, but I'm in the Midwest, and so I've traveled around Wisconsin, and I'm just telling you right now, from what I know, Wisconsin, all you Wisconsinites are probably great people. That's some shady shit in that state. I have traveled into the forests of Wisconsin, and just getting to, like, say, Lake Superior and going to small towns or traveling across it. You will travel in the forest. Not only have I seen a bear, bears are cool, but then all of a sudden I see like a minimum maintenance road that leads into a forest. And then above that driveway to get into this forest, there is a wire across, probably for electricity. It's electrical wire, but then there are like red sashes and different things that are like showing you, hey, maybe you should or shouldn't travel down that road. And I'm not the only one who saw it. My girlfriend was with me when we saw it, and we're let's just say part of this thinking community of, you know, the occult, conspiracy, paranormal. And so we instantly are like, holy shit, there's some child sacrifice going on or some shit going on down there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know there was this thing where we were coming back from up north because I'm not that far away from being near the UP. It takes me about 3 hours to get up to the UP.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm in a pretty rural area anyway, which the town that I live in is also known for a cult. It's also known for the cult here was really predominant at one point. There was an attempted assassination on the mayor in this town. There's also I just did an episode on the novitiate, which is a very interesting story as well, where there was like a 34-day standoff along with a whole bunch of tragedy. But I've heard too that so my point is, we went on this trip and we were coming back from the UP and we wanted to go see these falls because, as you know, in the north, there's a bunch of like different waterfalls, hiking areas, all that kind of stuff.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
It is.
Oh,
It
yes,
is.
it is.
And so we're like, oh, we'll go hit 12-foot falls. I'm like, that sounds cool. Well, I am telling you, never have I ever been more terrified because it turned into like this crazy dirt road. And I looked at my husband. I'm like, this is where people go to like stash bodies. I'm telling you this like right now. Like, this is creepy as all get out. I've got weird vibes. I kind of want to turn around because there was no road. It was just gravel to get you into this hiking area. And there's no markings, no nothing. I'm like, I don't like it. I need a sense of direction.
It's strange out there. We were out there doing an expo. My girlfriend was doing an expo out there, a holistic expo, and we stayed at an Airbnb. I can't remember the city name, but it's we went for a walk like we always do everywhere we go, and we were walking around, and all of a sudden we come across like a playground / old grain bin area that was formulated to look exactly like Stonehenge.
Weird.
Yeah. I'm not lying. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Yeah, that shit was crazy. And then not too far along, there was like a wedding dance venue where they were doing, you know, playing their normal Midwestern country wedding dance things. And so it's just such a fascinating, like, stumbling upon this little site that you could tell, you know, I'm from farm country, so I could tell it was instantly like an old grain bins that was structured down. And then there's kids' playgrounds. And then you instantly, I'm all like, that's, you know, we both were like, that's an old Stonehenge site. That's something's going on. Yeah.
It's so intriguing how, like, in the US, it seems like these kind of stories pop up so much. You know, like, I don't know, for example, from Brazil, there are some crazy stories, but usually they are more related to, you know, like actual things going on, or there are like religious aspects to them or whatever, right? So you could say like, oh yeah, the person is having the kind of religious experience. But in the US, I don't know, it seems it's more of a general, like if someone doesn't even believe in anything, they'll just be around like a poltergeist experience. You know, like, it's a weird place.
So for 35 years now, I've been traveling all across the country, like, I don't know, 6 to 9 months out of the year. And I run across weird places everywhere we go. Everywhere we go has some strain. And a lot of times, you know, when we get a freaky vibe, we're like, okay, we're outskis. And you know, some of those back roads, though, you get back into some of those hills and those service roads. And I mean, those are some of the most peaceful, quiet. But like I said, some places you just get a super weird vibe. And, you know, it's just best to keep driving. So.
Yeah, one, for example, you might want to check that out, Star, afterwards. It's I'll put up the name in the chat afterwards, but in Portuguese it's called Sete Além. It would be like seven beyond or something like that. So it started, I think, back in before even like Facebook or something. It was like another social media, and it's like one person talked about this. It could even be that they faked it, but then after they said it, then people started having actual experiences with that thing, where it's supposed to be like you take like a side road or like a side street or whatever while walking, and then you end up in this kind of parallel dimension where it's kind of like in between, so it's not even in here but not also like that. It's just like this in between place and weird people, and then they somehow can like go back from there, but then it becomes again after people start talking about it, then some people actually have the experience, so it's kind of like it becomes a thing. I'll put the name in the chat after.
The double slit experiment. The future affecting the past.
So like weird then.
Yes.
Also with like folk stories, and then they kind of start mashing, or even after we start getting some new technology, then new folk stories have to come, right? Because now, let's say we don't do a bunch of stuff that we used to do, so
right.
Yeah, that's
they
so
kind of have
true.
to update.
That's an interesting way just to, and not to get into do it too much, but I mean, you could see like there might be folk tales. I mean, I hope they don't continue, but like you had people say that there was going to be zombies coming out around COVID-19.
Right.
There hasn't been.
I mean, like, you could get folk tales theories on fucking then. I mean, even like I've even covered. I'm not saying I got it totally right, but even when I covered vampires, I think there's a good case that was rabies and TB.
Yeah,
or that the church and the law figured out a way to calm people down, and this is what they did.
Yeah, or the like caterpillars that attach to things, and then all of a sudden they take them over, and that's their parasitic nature of being able to control those things to feed off of it. Yeah, definitely.
One thing, you had mentioned before, I hate to go back, but to that place, the Hill with the Crosses. And I guess even like maybe this has something to do with like other places too, but I think you were saying in your show, and I was like, oh, that sounds like such a magician type way of looking at it, or an occultist way of looking at it. All these people believing something is up with it. Right. Could you eventually just like all those minds thinking that, could you create something regardless?
Create an egregore.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I was
definitely.
just going to say that. Yep. I think it's absolutely possible. I think manifestation is totally real. I think our minds can create a lot of different things. And honestly, I think you can create anything if you believe in it. And I think it's absolutely possible. There was actually a documented study up in Canada, and I think it was British Columbia, if I remember exactly, but they were talking about how they did it's called the Philip experiment, and you can look it up, and they tried to create this fake ghost, so to speak, and it wound up having actual like reality to it, and it got out of hand, and they didn't know how to contain it. And I'm like, that's insane. Like you actually physically manifested something into existence. Like that's wild.
Do you know about the Slender Man?
I do know about the Slender Man. Yes. The Slender Man is crazy.
Right.
That story briefly peaked up in one of my episodes when I talked about the Winnebago Asylum. And that story is just wild. Those two girls and how that all happened is just, that's unbelievable.
Well, but they ended up tracing that back, and it was actually related to an Air Force contract. And a lot of people think it was a psyop, that they were actually trying to create egregores within popular culture. And, kids started seeing this figure coming, out of the woods. It's
crazy.
That's fascinating. There is actually right now going on in the comic book world, a comic book called The Department of Truth. And I've been reading it. It's done by the guy by the name of James Tinian IV, I believe, third, fifth, whatever. But the point is, the Department of Truth is all about, he integrates, and he himself, I don't believe is an occultist or a magician by trade, only because he's a brilliant artist or writer. So but he has done a lot of, you can tell he's done a lot of research and study into various conspiracies and occult traditions and magical individuals through time. And just a quick premise is that it's about that there are two departments: the Department of Truth, which is the United States government's Black Ops department, and then there's the Department of Propaganda, which is the Russian one that was going on during the Cold War time frame. And what they are saying is that the universe has these principles that bases of if enough people think about it, if enough people believe in it, it actually is created. And so, for instance, like the moon landing, they didn't actually, in this, they say they didn't actually land on the moon. But what ended up happening is enough people believed in it. They created enough propaganda. This Department of Truth created enough happenstance, put it out in there with Stanley Kubrick and all these things, that then it actually happened. And so they didn't actually have to go there. They just all of a sudden were there with the correct everything going on. It's the same thing with the ice wall, the flat earth, Slender Man, Babylon. He integrates Aleister Crowley and the magical societies of the Hermetic Order of the Gold Dawn going all the way back and all these things. And so I find it interesting that if, as they said in this, if you put out there a psyop or you have enough information to push on to people, you, especially little kids through TV shows, that then you can get kids to create these egregores because they are of innocence and they are connected to the psychic goop, cosmic goopiness that then that is created, like Sasquatch and all these different things. And then they have in this department like the Black Ops and the Men in Black to go out there to try to take care of these things, get rid of certain stuff, because you don't want something to go out of skew that you can't control it. So it reminds me of like these certain happenstances of enough people believing in it that then it actually exists.
And kids are so susceptible. They're so open.
Yeah.
They're so open. I'm a parent. I can tell. It's crazy if I'm just trying, not that I would ever deliberately do this, but you can easily tell a kid something and they're going to take it at face value if they're young enough. You know what I mean? They're going to believe you. And it's like that. They're so susceptible. They're so susceptible. That's the same thing too. Like when you hear about kids who end up having, kids tend to be more poltergeist, like, entangled than like an adult would be. And it's so interesting to me. I'm like, it's always the kids. And I'm like, it's got to be because they're so open.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like in transition still. So they kind of mess around between both.
Yeah. And that reminds me of the Golden Compass, right? If you guys have ever read that book or watched that, it's the same thing, is that the kids are innocent. They are connected to that etheric energy a lot more. And that's what that main character or one of the main bad guys want to do, is cut them off from that, because then that is like the blooming into adulthood. And then you scram somebody's belief structures through a certain rational way of thinking and logic. And then, their daemons don't change anymore. Yeah.
We have the Monsters Inc. I think it's called in English, the movie as well.
Yes.
Right? They suck it up the
loosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing, if you guys don't mind me, I looked it up real quick, and I just want to kind of like, I guess I want to kind of just like read a paragraph here, just understandable. Like this Philip thing, I think when I read this, for the people here that practice magic, you're going to be like, oh, I think it sounds like you're making a fucking egregore. Because their goals were to create a fictional character through a purposeful methodology and then attempt to communicate with it through his hands. Right. The character was created and agreed upon. It was named Philip, whatever, the Alsford or whatever, referred to as Philip during the test. His fictional history partially coincided with actual events and places, but put multiple contradictions and errors. I mean, besides all that, like, to me, like, I remember when I made a servitor, when I worked with servitors, I mean, that's exactly what I was doing. I was creating and constantly meditating on and doing ritual work to create some sort of entity that I was then going to conversate with and tell it what to do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, just like hearing that and them saying that, I'm like, oh, this is totally a fucking occult.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That is so weird. And like that shit, just like, I just find it weird. Like that, like, how do you come up with that idea?
Solomon.
Yeah. Like, what provoked you to do
doing that in other ways with magic.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, where did you get that idea from? Probably from ritualistic shit.
Yeah.
But all that going back to at least as far as we know, so I'm sure it was going on before, but the biggest documented case is Solomon, summoning up these servitors and
the couple,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then if you think about it, even those stories themselves can be created, right? Like you were given the example of the moon in the comic book.
Exactly.
You recreate your past. If you want to have like a powerful magical thing, you just say, "Oh yeah, I'm actually from this lineage from thousands of years."
And then you make that acceptable within the mindscape of the people that are reading it, that thereby manifest those aspects within their own realities.
Yeah, that's why a lot of like magical, or not even necessarily magical, like spiritual groups will say that, oh no, actually Jesus was that thing, he was actually from the, they say the Space Federation or whatever, or he was actually
related.
he was actually that thing, because then it's, well, if he was it, then
he was part of the Galactic Federation of Palladians.
Exactly.
He was a Nordic alien.
Then you have a authority, right? Crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Do you have any certain practices of your own, Star, that help you cleanse yourself from all this crazy information that's going into your being as you go through these things?
I'm a big believer in sage. I'm a big believer in sage.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And I would say that is probably one of it. One of the things that I do to just kind of cleanse my palate, in a sense. I also find that if I just if I not only sage myself, sage the room that I'm in where I've done the work and I've done the things, I find that if I leave and come back, it's a lot better. Like if I take myself out of that equation. Yeah. And I always have to usually cleanse the palate with nature, or I honestly, believe it or not, sometimes I just have to go to my comfort show.
So. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think there's a big schism or like stigma in not only the occult community, but the paranormal community, the supernatural community, where I think we believe too much in authority. As in like the authority of who's giving a reading, or who thinks they're a psychic, or who thinks that they are a ghost buster or sorts. That I think it's really important that our own free agency and autonomy, we're actually designed to, I think the skepticism is important. That if you understand that like there's no one outside, like black magic and curses and that the psychic goo, I believe, I also study Chinese medicine, Chinese martial arts. I do Tai Chi and Qigong and martial arts and stuff. And I think it's really important that even in those I integrate, that's a ceremonial magical practice, just the Qigong forms, the breathing techniques. And it's that I think that there is nobody out there that is better at cleansing your aura or your spheres of sensations or your mind than you. And I like that idea of just watching something that's nice, or the sage, because that's your ritual. Yep. And so I think there's again, I'm speaking of a certain instance, and it doesn't matter here, but it's like, there's no candle you're buying from a mystic psychic that you can get that's going to help you with that. $777 for this candle. If you come to my room, I'll help cleanse you of your psychic spheres. It's like, that's all nonsense. So it's simple. And I really like that,
And you know what's funny as well? A lot of people, like you said, put authority not only on like real people, but also on the supposed entities or whatever that they're interacting with. Right. Let's say the ghost, and the ghost is super powerful. But then you go see a movie like the Others, and you see that the ghost is just like a family that doesn't understand that they died already. So they're like interacting with you in real life, and you're like opening the microwave and whatever, and they're going and closing, like, well, who the fuck opened this? And like it's you and them back and forth, just two normal families, let's say. And you think, oh no, the ghosts are super powerful, and it's just like a mom opening up the microwave. So most definitely just keeping it real, keeping it stable, I think helps a lot to ground it and not get caught up. I did something back when I started learning Kabbalah, actually, like very, very at the start of it, I think. So I had this thing that when I was, I think, 8 years old or 9 years old, and I went to like a playground, like a amusement park, not a playground, amusement park with the school, and they had like the horror thing going on. And I don't even remember exactly what happened, but basically after that day, I got kind of weirded out, and I would look up at like to corners and windows, and I would kind of see but not see things. So I got kind of weirded out. And with time, I guess, yeah, rationally, like my rationale was okay, it's nothing, but the emotion was there. So if I was in the dark, I was like, what the fuck? You know, my body would react. And then when I started learning Kabbalah, I think very at the start as well, I did like a specific technique, and it was fascinating because even again, understanding it, I couldn't transmute the thing because my body was doing it. But after doing the specific technique, I could liberate it, and then like the next day I could be in the dark and there's nothing there. So it really comes down to like what Magnus was talking about, like getting the authority of your own head. So you are the one that can do it. You know, you cannot just put it into a third party and expect it to be the best one.
Right. And psychologically, it's interesting when you look at a lot of these magical elements. Like they say that generally lower astral entities hang out in space as in angles, whereas higher astral entities hang out in the arcs, right? And when you think about it, is that something susceptible, like how we were looking at the picture of the crosses on the hill and the angular momentum, the jaggedness, you see something that precipitates ideas of negativity. Whereas when you think about things that are beautiful and sweeping, you think of things that are in an arcal movement. So these ideas are also deeply embedded within the subconscious of who we are, you know, just as participants in this reality.
Right. And then you go to astrology, you have the squares, which are the
right
angles,
where all the angles lay,
right?
Depending on how the planets are positioned. And again,
or like the septiles, which would be more circular, and then those are the good angles, right?
Exactly.
Nice. How long have you been doing this, Star? How long has you been doing your show?
So Creepy Shit took place, it started in May of last year. So it's not even a year old yet.
Holy shit, you've crushed it. I just followed you on Instagram.
Oh yay, thank you.
Yeah, not that you need my follow because you're crushing it right now.
No, I was like, no, I'm surprised this lady even answered me back. But
that was wild. Good for you. In this sphere of trying to, you know, not only just create content, but do your true will, right? That's what we always state, is that, you know, as you know, Crowley or any of these things, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And you found that as you said right in the way in the beginning, is that you found that if you were to do your will, or a less stigmatized individual, Joseph Campbell, find your bliss, that you've seemed to found that. And that's fascinating. That's good for you. I mean, your family and friends seem to love that for you as well, it seems.
Yes. Yep. I am very, very grateful. I definitely have a good support team who like definitely is there for it. And they're like, yeah, do your jam. And I'm
That's
like,
amazing.
thank you. Because I'm gonna.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nice.
You know, it's funny. I think I had asked Star prior. No, I did ask you. I think I had asked if you were a Thelemite, and you were like, no, but I think you kind of identified with the whole will idea.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And you just use that now. So it's kind of funny. Like,
yes.
Working perfect. Yeah. Was there any other cases or stories that like maybe you might want to talk about that was pretty wild to you?
Oh boy. Let's see. I got off the top of my head, I can't think of anything else at the moment because we are now I'm going into next week will be the 36th episode. So I'm excited about that. And I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I did want to ask, and maybe we'll kind of maybe talk about this with all of us, but you know, we talk about again, like stuff like appearing in the, you know, places or in the woods, or you know, like that mound. I think like even kind of had like kind of paranormal activity. Besides like, you know, like maybe people's intention. Do you think that there's like, I hate to use like ley lines, but is there like some sort of like energy, kind of something in that area that you think might like you know, contribute to what's going on? Like sometimes I wonder, like places where you feel a difference, and you're like, oh, this just is there more of a magnetic pull? Because that would actually make you feel physically uncomfortable, actually, too.
Right. I do believe, like,
And
I am a
then,
big
like,
believer.
just real quick, just to finish what I'm getting at, the magnetic pull maybe would pull in enough energy to finally create something that you'd see. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe there's something going on in that area.
Yeah,
Energetically.
definitely. I think it's absolutely plausible. And I do believe like in residual energies without a doubt. I
Yeah.
think there are certain places that definitely hold that. And you mentioned the ley lines. And that is sometimes I love looking to see, because if you ever look at the map of the ley lines, I love to see if a ley line does intersect to a certain place. I didn't do that with the Hill of Crosses, but now I want to. Now I want to go back and see if it does actually cross, because I do find that to be, I don't dismiss it. I don't necessarily unfathomably believe it either, but I never rule anything out. Like I try to keep a open, logical mind, but also if I can't explain it, it definitely makes me more of a believer.
You know, if you go to, in Brazil, we have Umbanda, Kimbanda, and I'm pretty sure Voodoo, Hoodoo, Santeria would work similarly, where they ask you sometimes to go to the crossroads to do the work.
Oh
And
yeah.
if you think about it, the crossroad is like an artificial ley line. Sometimes it goes together, like you have the
Yeah.
actual ley line, somebody built the road like on top of it, but it's then like this. It's the cross. You're merging two things, merging directions, merging energies, and
you have all the various spirits of the crossroads through all the various cultures and the things that you have to do to communicate, make bargains, to bring things for. Yeah.
And it's the same with like similar times, as in like 11:11, 10:10, these kind of things. It's kind of like as if the clock, it's opening up now because you have two things going on at the same time. So it definitely helps.
Well, and the true crossroad, they say, isn't actually where two roads cross, but where a road comes and you have the split between the left and the right hand path.
Exactly.
Yeah, just like even that other story, not to sound like too out there of an idea, but like, that guy dies and then weird shit happens. You're gonna need energy for the weird shit to happen. Was the guy dying? Was that part of feeding? I mean, I don't know. It's just I do wonder, like, again, like I say it on the show, even though I've had plenty of Bigfoot people on. I don't know if I really buy that idea. But the one thing I always find interesting is the weird shit that's going on when they think they're coming across one.
Right.
And a lot of them do share the same. I mean, unless they're ripping off each other's stories, which I don't think that's the total case. People are having the same experiences with like orbs of feelings and stuff. And you just wonder, is there something in the woods? It's just going to make weird shit happen.
The energetic forces shifting, opening. And there's this weird thing that I got into for a minute about potentially conscious astral entities laying in these hollow spots within the magnetic field of the earth. So getting into conscious plasma, and we really just don't even begin to perceive all the multiplicity that this reality encompasses.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they're trying to actually, I'm going to quote unquote there seems to, and they could just be our own ego who is trying to lineate time and trying to understand structures of logic. And I actually just posted today a Dune quote on Instagram, which is basically like, paraphrasing, like we always want to try to limit the universe to our humanized logic, but really the universe is beyond that. We can't even fathom the kind of logic that the universe runs. And so, the they, which is what I'm always trying to do on my channel, and just when I talk to everyone in public, is it's like they is ego, they is my limiting thought patterns and structures, and self is my own inner divine, like the bigger picture of things. And so it's that self that can see and use all four elements that we're trying to balance as magicians in the world. And so there is a they, right? The media that's continually trying to entrap us into thinking that material science is all there is, or the way that the exoteric religions want us to think of things. And interesting enough, these exoteric religions are using ceremonial magic and the occult. And the reason that they don't want us to know about those things is because of, if we find our own true gnosis, and then we can read behind the lines and between the narratives, and then we're less likely to be controlled. And then maybe these paranormal experiences that you're finding, that obviously is resonating with people because you're crushing it, is that like, then we have, if we can see that for ourselves, maybe of what I've come to understand with the Kabbalah and my Hermetic magic and these things, is that the Kliplof, like that, which is the base rooting of the hollow of the tree where all these husks are of the Goetia and these demons and things, they are angels in disguise, that they are actually, from a different perspective, can be seen as that which can help us find the deeper meaning in our own life if we have the ability to see it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like the way you said that.
Yeah, thanks.
Sometimes this paranormal activity is just our brain like trying to process like fucking weird shit that it doesn't understand.
That we don't
Yes,
understand. Yeah.
yes. And that's Jacques Vallée, man. Nick, you just said it. That's like a paraphrased Jacques Vallée, or any of these characters that are Carl Jung, right? It's that we have a psychic stigma out there that we're trying to understand. We have a cognitive dissonance towards it, and we want to enrapture ourselves to try to understand it. So we put fucking fairies onto it, or we see drones nowadays and technology, so we put that in, and we see these orbs because we're like hitting this transhumanist state, or in the past it was angels and demons, and so we're just trying to understand, and we're going to project onto that what we can.
And we all have some sort of phenomena that we experience within our lifetimes.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
In some way, we're all trying to figure out how to interrelate with what, we're seeing, and participating with.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think that's, the inherent draw of all this freaky weirdness is that, it's something that everyone who takes the time has experience with.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we don't want to, and I try to not do this because I am a kind of a bombastic, gregarious character. So I speak in absolutes when I'm really trying not to. And it's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't mean the paranormal experiences aren't real.
Right.
It does, because real is such a shoddy word where we generalize abstractions to try to understand what is real. It's like, of course it's real. I'm experiencing it. It's so what level of reality am I experiencing it through? It's like, it becomes strange phenomena when all of a sudden, what does it mean if something outside of myself scratches me when really it was me doing it and I didn't know it? But if I'm doing it to myself without me knowing it, is it actually myself doing it, or is it my own inner demons? And it gets to that Robert Anton Wilson style of my mind. Is it my mind within the universe, or the universe inside my mind? And that's the level of beyond logic that Dune quote is trying to encompass this kind of conversation.
I like all that you said right there.
Yeah,
there's something earlier that you had mentioned that I don't know why I wanted to say it then, but like now it's kind of out of context. But you were saying something about like not having words to explain something. And sometimes I do think like even with the paranormal or this weird shit like that, maybe like in translation, like things get lost and then it gets like woo-wooed. But I also do think like that's a lot of stuff. I hate to say it, but I even think when it comes to the occult, or I'd even throw religion in there. Like people will take these there's things in there that I think these gods might be archetypes of a thing that you can't, it's hard to explain.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to put it into words. So you try to create an archetype and then it kind of gets taken at face value and then you lose the deep. Something you were saying earlier that kind of fit in.
Yeah. Or even like, how are you going to explain like precipitation and a lot of stuff for people that don't have physics or math? You have to tell a story, and then you tell a story, you use the names and so on. And then they understand, okay, that's how the sun comes and goes and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then people take it literally and think it's an actual person. And there becomes a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So,
One thing I did want to ask you also, Star, to kind of get back to weird shit too. And I guess maybe everybody else here. When it comes to like poltergeists, some people do wonder if it even comes from the person themselves. What's your theory on that? Like, can people actually get projecting their own hauntings that they think is something else?
Poltergeists are that is a really fascinating thing to me, because it's a level of, there's allegedly, I've never experienced poltergeists. I've only ever heard the stories, right?
Right.
Going back into that. So it's like, it's one of those where it's like, you have documented things of people telling you this, but again, are you really seeing it? And you talk about telekinesis and telekinetic energy of moving objects and all of that kind of stuff. Like, poltergeists to me are a very fascinating thing, because it's like, well, is it that person actually doing it? Is it a hallucination caused by that person? Or is it something else entirely, where like your mind thinks it's happening, but it's not really happening? And so now it's become this poltergeist thing. And going back into that, to what we talked a little bit before, is like, well, now it's becoming believable, because this person said that this happened, and now they're going to start to think that they see that stuff. So is it really just a mind over matter thing, or is it something that is actually truly a phenomenon that is going on? Poltergeists are super, super fascinating to me, because in that realm, I don't know what to believe, because I want to believe that such a thing could exist, and that telekinesis can absolutely happen from someone's mind into an actual physical object, like actually moving something across my desk with my mind. That would be amazing. But that kind of energy, and I am a big believer that we're all energy, like, how do you even harness that? Because nobody's ever even talked about that from a poltergeist experience, of how they actually did it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If I'm making sense, I hope.
No, yeah.
It's something where it's like, is it really a mind over matter thing, and they like think they're seeing it, or are they actually doing it?
Some of the phenomena associated with poltergeists, if you've read Charles Fort's work, he goes into documenting all of these cases of money falling out of the sky, all like a lot of the type of phenomena. And then when you get into more modern times, with them creating the poltergeist movies and what all the levels that entails that, and that was on top of an Indian burial mound, back to the mounds again. But at the same time, it's like, are these things physical phenomena that physical science can't necessarily understand or trace down, and enough people experience them that it's like you have to almost think that there are some sort of outside forces that are working in situations such as poltergeists.
I have one experience, if I may share.
Yeah.
It was
Totally.
actually this year, I think. Yeah, it was this year. Like, my mom was kind of, as normal, sometimes we don't have clarity in the future and so on. So she came to me for some readings, like numerology readings, astrology readings, whatever. I did everything I could to, like, any type of reading to kind of guide her. And then it was funny, because I did it, like, we spent, 2-3 hours talking about it and so on. And then it was already late at night. We went to the kitchen to, like, drink some water. She went up. I went to my room. And then as she went up and I went to my room, I heard I stayed in my chair and so on. And I heard like a big, like loud noise. And then I thought, like, what the fuck? Like, it's all good? Like, I asked her, it's all good? And then she came and asked, like, no, I thought something happened to you. Like, I was all good. And then we went to the living room, and then we found, like, it was a picture, not a picture, but like a drawing, like a painting, and it had fell down. Well, we were there for like 2 years already, and never bothered with that place, that painting, because the place was rented and whatever. And then it just fell down. Like, that was already weird by itself, that the thing fell down. There's no tremors, nothing, right? And it was the only thing. There was another one on top of it, which if there was enough strength, both would fall down, but just that one fell down. And then we got it. I took to take a look, and then the thing was about like Don Quixote. I don't know if that's the name in English, but whatever. It's like the story of the guy. It's like a warrior type of thing and so on. And it was so funny because when she looked at it, she was like, she got like an insight from one of the things she was thinking after she had the readings and so on. And then we also saw from where it was, and it was from a city, like again, a bunch of synchronicities from that painting falling down, where again, there's no real reason for that to fall down. Like there's not like there's no air, like the house is all closed up. It's at night. There's nobody else in the house and so on. So it was very weird, but it was cool for her because it kind of connected. Like it had also the synchronistic aspect. It was not just a random painting falling down, but just like it had meaning as well.
Reinforce thought patterns.
Exactly. And then you get into what Sarah was saying, like it can become kind of a cognitive focus there. You have like a thing you want to prove, let's say, but I guess if it helps you with something, then cool, doesn't matter. Like but it was a funny thing.
Very nice. Is there anything else anybody want to talk about? Star, anything you wanted to mention before we wrap it up? Or with the stories or anything? You want to promote anything coming up?
Oh, well, I'll share this juicy little nugget with you. I'm working on releasing my first book.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that it'll be out by summer. I'm in the process of like doing all the dirty work of formatting and editing and all that kind of stuff. And it's a fiction book, but it is based on the paranormal and supernatural type things. So I'm excited about it.
Oh, nice. That's great. You got like a publishing company already?
I'm probably going to self-publish, and then I'm going to send it off to publishers after that just to see. I just want to be able to get it out right away.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll still submit to some publishers because I've got a couple that I would really, really like, the golden carrot kind of publishers that I would be really cool if they picked it up. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, good luck with that. When you put it out or whenever, if you want, you can always come on and talk about it.
Oh, that would be so great. Absolutely. I'd be honored to.
That'd be great. Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, people take a look out for that if you're gonna go follow her. She's got a book coming out. I guess we'll wrap it up now if you don't mind. I'll let everybody kind of plug themselves, and then you can promote your stuff. Matt, want to go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and all your amazing work?
For sure. Thanks a lot again for everyone that joined and for everyone here in the panel. So you can always find me at Metmura19. That's gonna be on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, maybe some other place. There's also our spaces on Twitter from the Grey Lodge, and we archive them on thetruegraylodge.com with a V, so Truve. There's also my website, Kabbalah.com, KAABALAH.com, where I do a lot of cool stuff, especially now the tarot readings. So I'm doing a cool little project. If you want to be a beta tester, just DM me, and I'll hook you up into the details. But yeah, I had a really cool experiment also with tarot recently. I posted about it on Twitter. It was really nice. And I want to keep working more on that. So if you're curious, just DM me and I'll let you know.
Yeah, hit me up about that myself, man.
For sure.
Yeah. Magus, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Star. It was wonderful to meet you. Yeah, that's amazing. I will throw you on the Spotify while we're traveling, and we'll see if we can have any of our own paranormal crazy shit happen, and I'll let you know if that happens.
And I'll be sure to follow you back.
Thank you, Star. Yes, everyone out there, please head over to Magus in the Media on all the things, YouTube, X and Instagram, doing all the stuff as much as possible at all times, trying to come out with all the things. I'm actually interviewing Ike Baker on the channel, and and so I will be doing that this week and then coming out with that as soon as possible by the end of the week. So that should be a great conversation. He's a brilliant man. I'm also going to be doing some stuff with Jin the Ninja coming up soon as well. Call out to our boy Jin the Ninja. We're going to be breaking down some of that anime, comic books, and all the things that we can do. I'll be coming out with all kinds of stuff up soon. The world is getting stranger. I got my live streams going on, and I'm just trying to break down the strange dystopic world that we have going on and trying to help everyone find their own personal myth and become their own superhero. So Nick, thank you so much for having me. R. Marks, it's great to meet you too, bro. And Matt Mora, I want to do some stuff with you as well. I just accepted your friend request, and so we're connected as well. So
For sure.
Awesome. Great
This
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was when I was first getting you on. I even sent your profile to Gina. I was like, "Oh, check this guy out." I was like,
yeah,
good stuff. Good
That's
stuff. Did you go live on any certain days? Do you have a certain schedule for that or no?
kind of. I'm working on the schedule. Yes, it's in the evenings on Sundays and Mondays is normally when I'm going live after 5, 6, 7. My life is a little disorganized currently, so I try to put it up on all the things when I do it. But Sundays and Mondays are my live times in the evening.
Awesome. So go over to his channel, hit that subscribe button, and take a look out for that live notification on Sundays and Mondays.
Yeah, thank you, Nick.
Of course. And Mr. Marks, sir, please let everybody know where they can find all your amazing work and your art.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, Nick. And as far as Matt and Nick, it's always good to see you guys. Star and Megas, good to meet you guys. As far as myself, I'm an artist, illustrator. I do various stuff for bands, festivals. And then right now I'm working on illustrations for my Nimrod book, which is pretty much what I've been wrapped up in more time than I care to even talk about. And that's all coming along. If you want to check out my various stuff, my artwork, my social media, my podcast, the Meta Mindcast, you can go to my Linktree, which is Linktree RMARX, and that'll pull up all the stuff. And it's always pretty much this time of the year, I'm really a hermit. So Nick is one of the few people that can kind of draw me out, and it's always fun to come hang out. So yeah.
Right. Thank you, Robbie. It's always a pleasure to have you
you.
on the show. You know, you're a staple to the Occult Rejects. So
I always love it, man.
yes.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Star, please let everybody know where they can find all your stuff.
Absolutely. And thank you. Thank you so much, Nick, for bringing me on for this. This was amazing. Meeting all of you guys has been absolutely fantastic. I will definitely be seeking you guys out to friend you and all of that. It's been so wonderful. Thank you to everybody too. I see like the comments popping up on my screen and everything, and you guys are super awesome. So thank you. Thank you. You can find me over on Instagram at creepy_shit_podcast. I'm also on TikTok at creepyhoststar. And you can listen to the Creepy Shit podcast wherever podcast platform you love.
Perfect.
Yes, and thank you so much again for coming on. I always love talking about weird shit, so this was perfect. We'll have to get you on and talk about some more creepy shit in the future. And again, good luck on the book. And everybody in the chat, thank you. That's what's up. There was a lot of good comments in there, a lot of people checking it out, and I appreciate it. And that's where we go live. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.